Hey guys, Ouija here. Welcome to the channel. Today I want to give you guys an Oldhim deck profile that I've been working on ever since Tales of Aria was released. When they first spoiled Oldhim, I was really excited because of the theme of the hero. He's Ice, Elemental, Guardian. It's really cool. His ability, it seemed right up my alley. It seemed very control heavy with the frostbites and everything. And in all the TCGs I've played, I've always leaned more towards the control decks for whatever reason. Just my playstyle. I've tried all the versions of Oldhim. I've tried the Elemental version. I've tried it with Awakening. I've tried it with all Earth. I've tried it with all Ice. I've tried it with everything mixed. I've tried it with all the Crush cards. And this is the version that I found to work the best for me. I built it with consistency in mind. It's a very simple game plan, and I really wanted to utilize Oldhim's ability. I found with all of these crush cards and fuse cards, you were constantly keeping hands just to play those cards, and you were never getting any value out of his reaction, which, you know, if you're not using your hero's ability, Oldhim might as well be a vanilla hero. I mean, he might as well have no text. I found a lot of crush cards, which it seems like that's the most popular way to play Oldhim, with like the Spinal Crush and the Terra Sunder and all that. And while those are really good cards, like I just said, they're so expensive, and it just forces you to play in a weird way that I feel isn't very effective. If you're gonna play those cards, you might as well just be playing Bravo. I mean, I really see no point into playing Oldhim with those cards. That's just me. I'm here to share my thoughts with you and what I've come up with. So let's get started. Let's go over the deck. Oldhim, Grandfather of Eternity. Perfect name. A lot of your games can go long. But with this deck, I don't think it's too bad. The game plan is simple enough to where you're not thinking too much. Your plays are pretty much set out for you. Pretty simple. The hardest part of this deck is timing your Oldhim ability with the defense reaction. It's really strong if utilized correctly. Timing your Crown of Seeds, timing your blocks, and setting up your pitch for Oaken ult for late game. That's the hardest part of the deck. Everything else is pretty straightforward, which is good because it makes it consistent. So Oldhim can use Ice and Earth cards. Once per turn, his defense reaction, pay 3 resources. If it's an Earth, you block the next 2 damage, which can be good against future arcane attacks, arcane damage attacks. And if you pitch an Ice, you are forcing your opponent to top deck a card from their hand, which that can be very, very good. They can have 2 cards in hand. They think they're gonna, with nothing floating, they think they're gonna pitch to, you know, play another card because they had go again on their previous attack. They attack, you block whatever you want. Then you Ice pitch, and you force them to top deck a card and pretty much end their turn. Sometimes they have 1 card in hand. You Ice pitch, and now they can't arsenal that card, and they're playing with 4 cards. And in this deck, playing with an arsenal is extremely important because of Crown of Seeds. You can play without an arsenal, and it's fine. And oftentimes with this deck, I will judge it based upon if my opponent has an arsenal. If my opponent does not have an arsenal and it's my turn, I'm perfectly fine without playing an arsenal. I'll go 4-card hand for 4-card hand. But if they do have an arsenal, it's very important that you also have an arsenal. You want to keep that hand size equal at all times. And when you can get that arsenal advantage, it's really strong with this deck. So that's Oldhim. We're going to go over the equipment. Rampart of the Ram's Head. Extremely good. You pitch, pay 1, it blocks 1. If your opponent constantly breaks the chain, you get more value. You can then pay another resource, block for 2, and so on. Really good against dash. Anything that breaks a chain, but it also just, it helps you block that one extra damage for certain on-hit effects. You know, you can block the ball lightnings for one, things like that. It's just really, really good. For the weapon, obviously play Winter's Wail. 3 resources. If an ice is pitched, on hit, swings for 4, and it will create a frostbite. Really, really good. 4 is an awkward number to block if they don't have the sync blows or fate foreseens. A lot of times early, people tend to block with armor, which is great for us because we don't want that armor there for late game for them to block our Oakenolds for game. So Winter's Wail is really, really good. A lot of times that will be your turn. Pitch an ice, swing with hammer. It gets you there. It's really annoying for your opponent to deal with turn after turn. Really, really good. Our headpiece, Crown of Seeds. This card is absolutely insane, as I'm sure most of you know. It fixes your hands. It gets you turns when you otherwise would not have had a turn. Like you will have something in arsenal. You would go into your turn with a single red in hand. You pitch the red, bottom your arsenal, draw a card, and you draw blue. So now you can swing with hammer instead of just doing nothing. Crown of Seeds is insane. It blocks the next 1 damage that will be dealt to you. Really good against Arcane. Yeah, it's just insane. And a lot of times, if they are swinging for 4 with an on-hit effect, like a snatch or something, you can block for 3 or go to reactions. They will say no reactions, and then you can crown and block that extra 1 that they probably weren't expecting. Yeah, so Crown of Seeds, best equipment in the deck. Then we go to our chess piece, Heart of Ice. Heart of Ice, extremely good in this deck, the version that I'm playing, because you pay the 1 resource, it forces your opponent's defense reactions to cost 1 more, their instants to cost 1 more. It can just make their blocks really awkward, and with the way that I'll be showing you here in a second, the way we're playing the deck, it's very, very important to make their hands extremely awkward, clog up their hands with defense reactions, and it's just a really, really good card. For our gloves, I choose to play Goliath Gauntlets. You can play the ones with the crush. Can't remember the name right now. The ones that you can block 3 with. I don't think it's needed. I like Goliath Gauntlet to get you over that hump late game, to give it that extra 2 when it's a battle of, you know, I swing, they block out, they swing, I block out. Goliath Gauntlet can really swing the tempo in your favor, get you that extra chip damage. Really, really good. For our legs, we are playing Ironhide legs. Oldhim's weakest equipment slot is definitely his legs. Doesn't really have many great options. I do have a couple more in the sideboard that we'll go over. But yeah, Ironhide legs is actually really good, and it gets you over a lot of things with on-hit effects. You can pitch, block 2 with it, staunch response for the next. There's just a lot of scenarios that it really, really helps you out and really saves you. So that's the equipment. Next, we'll go over the deck. The deck is 61 cards. It's 21 reds, 9 yellows, and 31 blues. We are playing 36 frost cards, and it's 37 including Pulse of Isenloft, since it counts as both ice and earth. We are playing 9 earth cards, which it's 10 with Pulse of Isenloft because of ice and earth. So let's get started. Like I said, I'll explain the game plan. It's super straightforward, but very effective. One of the main cards of the deck, Frostfang. This card is probably my favorite card in the deck. It's really funny. It's only swinging for 5, but if it hits, they have to discard a card or pay 2 resources, which it forces an equipment block. It forces a double block with 2 cards. It forces a defense reaction. It just makes their turn. It's ripping a card from the hand, if not 2, a lot of times. Because if they block with 1, they're still going to discard anyway, so they're going to want to block with 2. Or they're just not going to block at all and just ditch the 1 card to have a 3-card hand. And it gets in that chip damage that we really need, because any little point of damage in this deck that we can get in is great for us, because come late game, that's when we want to start hitting with our Oak and Olds and our Dominate effects to win us the game. So 3 red Frostfangs, 3 yellow Frostfangs, also the 4 really awkward breakpoint, and this is where the Heart of Ice comes in. With this deck, you are going to want to pitch a blue to activate Heart of Ice, play Frostfang for 2, and now this 4 becomes, you know, really weird for them. They're going to have to ditch 2 cards, or now they're going to have to pay 1 resource, pitch a card to defense react, and it just feels really bad for your opponent. The look on their faces every time I play this, it's just, yeah, it's just really, really effective. The blue Frostfang, same thing. I don't really play this as much. I can play it. It's still, if you have this in hand and it's between this and swing with your hammer, more often than not, you're going to want to swing with your hammer because it's just more threatening. You will play Frostfang if you just want to rip a card from their hand, guaranteed. Winner's Wail, they're more than likely going to take the damage because they're so sick of getting their hand discarded every turn. Frostfang, they don't really have that luxury, so it really depends on which way you want to go with it. If you want to swing with the hammer, threaten the Frostbite, or swing with the Frostfang and guarantee rip a card from their hand or armor. Notice how all these are 2-drops, just like Icy Encounter. I'm playing 3 Icy Encounter reds. Swings for 6. It's nice. If it hits, it creates a Frostbite token. This card also really, really good. That Frostbite can really hurt a lot of decks, especially things that like to play a lot of reds, like currently Briar, Lexi, all those things, Katsu, stuff like that. It's really, really annoying, especially paired with some of the other cards we have in the deck. Now, to pair with this combo of Frostfang and Icy Encounter, pretty much every single turn, as much as we can, we are going to want to play Winter's Bite to lead our turn. So we play Winter's Bite. I'm playing all 9 copies here. 3 yellows and 3 blues. No matter which one we play, it's ripping a card from their hand. They have to pay the resources or they have to discard a card. Depending on which one we play, it does affect the way our turns will go. Red Winner's Bite, they feel really bad about pitching a blue because they might need that blue to pay for their next turn. So a lot of times they will just discard instead of pitching. And it goes more like whenever you play the blue, they're more likely to pitch than discard because it's only 1 resource. But that 1 resource, it's still ripping your card out of their hand, which is exactly what we want. So we play Winter's Bite, we pitch a blue, we activate Heart of Ice, and we play Frostfang, Icy Encounter. Any one of those, they're 2-drops, so the blue fully pays for it. And yeah, Frostfang paired with Winter's Bite is just, it's the combo you want to go for most often to get ahead and get in that chip damage, because they a lot of times will just take the Frostfang because they don't want to go into their turn with the 2 cards. So they will just take the damage and discard 1 instead of having to block with 2. Which is really, really good because now we still have cards in our hand to utilize Oldhim's defense reaction, which is really strong. So Winter's Bite, pitch a blue, Frostfang, that's a 3-card combo. We had 1 in Arsenal, an extra in hand. With that extra in hand, you know, it's really, really consistent, really, really good. We have 3 Winter's Grasp. Was a blue pitch, Ice, blocks 3. It's really all it's there for. I've never really played it in a game. It can, no, it's not going to come up. It's just your hammer basically does the same thing, but better. It's really there for the block, really there for the pitch, and really there for the ice. That's all it's there for, but it's still solid. The 3 block is really good. Now, also to pair with our Frostfangs and Icy encounters, we have Ice Quake. We play three red Ice Quake and 3 blue Ice Quake. This card's really good because, once again, 1 blue card will pay for an Ice Quake and a Frostfang, an Ice Quake, or an Icy encounter. It can be very, very threatening for a Frostfang coming at your opponent for 8 and on hit, creating a Frostbite and then discarding or paying 2 resources. They are, yeah, it's just, they're going to have to fully block it out, defense reaction, because we won't have the heart active unless you had extra cards to do so. But a lot of times I'll just, save that card, or if I want to pitch it to stack it for Oakenold, I'll do that. But yeah, Ice Quake paired with Ice Encounter, paired with Frostfang, really, really good. 1 blue pays for it, and like I said, that's the whole point of this deck. We are able to play with 1 or 2 card hands, like, very easily. Anything above that is just icing on the cake. It's really good. We have 3 card hand, Winter's Bite, Pitch, Frostfang. Very, very threatening combo. So yeah. Then we go, and Ice Quake can also be paired with your Winter's Wail. So, you can play red Ice Quake with your Winter's Wail, swing for 7, 2 Frostbites on hit. Really, really good. Then we got our Channel Lake Frigids. This card can shut decks down or force opponents to simply pass their turn because they don't want to overpay for anything, or they just can't overpay for anything. It's basically a permanent Frostbite on your opponent's turn. That can, yeah, it just really shuts them down. It's an ice, and it also blocks for 3, which is kind of insane. Yeah, Channel Lake Frigid, really good. If it's between Channel Lake Frigid and attacking with, hammer or anything else, I'll usually choose to attack because I just want to get that pressure out. The channel, I'm not afraid to block with it. I'm not afraid to pitch it. If you can get it, great. I never really play for it, but if you can get it, it really, really hurts your opponent. But I want to keep that constant pressure, so I don't want to just pitch, play channel, and pass. Like, I want to swing at my opponent to force the Frostbite or whatever else we're trying to do. The last size cards we have is Blizzard. It's an instant. The target will lose go again unless they pay 2 resources. Really, really good against pretty much everything in the meta right now. The only thing that it may not be good against is Bravo, but even now Bravos are tending to play Zealous Belting, so they do have more than 1 attack a turn. So it's really good. It's main board. It's an ice pitch, blue, really good. Doesn't block, that's the only downside, but you can stop opponents in their tracks with this. All right, now we're going to go to the Earth cards. I am playing 3 Earthlore Surges. It's blue, Earth, blocks 2, gives our next attack action +3. It's mainly here for the blue pitch, mainly here to use Oldhim's defense reaction to block the next 2. If we're like fighting against like arcane stuff or just anything like that. You can also double like under pitch a yellow Earth and then any ice to get both effects of Oldhim, which is really, really good if that presents itself. But Earthlore Surge, out of the blue Earth cards, I think this one's the best to play. I'd say about 30 to 40% of the games, I'll resolve one of these on some of our upcoming cards here. On an Autumn's Touch, sometimes you draw a hand of all Earth cards, even though we're only running 10. A lot of times I will Earthlore Surge and pitch another blue to play Autumn's Touch for 9, which it's a vanilla 9, but that is still extremely threatening. Your opponent has to respect it, especially after taking a bunch of chip damage the entire game because they're tired of getting affected by Frostfang, by the Frostbites, by Winter's Bite. Now they're just in an awkward position. Also playing 3 blue Autumn's Touch, 3 block, great card, mostly there for the Earth pitch, but you can swing with it. Don't be like, the 3-block is great. So there's that. We're gonna move to our defense reactions. 3 red sink below. Great, free, filters our hand, allows you to pitch stack for Oaken, allows you to, if you have all reds, bottom a red, and all of a sudden you have a blue. Now you have offense on your next turn. That happens so many times. And you can also do that with Crown of Seeds. You will have a handful of reds on your turn, you pitch a red, bottom deck your arsenal, draw a card. Now you have a blue. Now you have a turn. Now you can play the Frostfang or the icing counter with the blue that you just got. That happens literally every game. We play 3 blue staunch responses. This card is really, really good in this deck because it's basically a soul shield in this deck in terms of blocking for 6, because a lot of times we will pitch a blue, block with a shield or the crown. You'll have to make that decision. If you think they're going to break the chain and you'll get more value out of the shield, I would put the counter on the shield and crown on your turn, or crown later on in the turn if you feel it's needed. And then when you move to defense reactions, you can use your last 2 floating to staunch your response and block 6 total, while having your shield active for the entire turn. So this staunch response, really, really good. It's also a blue pitch. And then we have the 1 Pulse of Eisenloft, just another defense reaction, 6, 2, pretty much the same thing as staunch response. It is ice and earth, so you can double fuse Oak and Old with it, but I'll tell you that almost never happens. Do not be afraid to pitch this card to swing with hammer, to play your other things. Do not keep Pulse of Eisenloft in your hand. It's just, it's just another defense reaction. That's an ice. So don't be afraid to pitch it. Don't be afraid to use it. Never save it for the Oak and double fuse. Now coming to the last cards of the deck, we have 9 more. We have 3 Glacial Footsteps, blue. It's there for the blue pitch. It's there for the 3-block, and it's also there for the late game. You can stack this early to get the 8 dominate to close out games. That happens quite often. Yeah, it's just really good. It's mostly there for the 3-block and the blue pitch, but it does help you close out games. Don't be afraid to block with it. Don't think, oh, like I'm using my last Glacial. It's not that big of a deal. We play 3 Command and Conquers. Another crazy card. It's an expensive card for a reason. Blocks 3, attack for 6, destroys our arsenal on hit, and Command and Conquer helps us do the thing that we want to do in this deck, which is make their defense reaction cost more with Heart of Ice. But Command and Conquer pretty much does that for us because they can't play defense reactions anyways. So in turn, instead of pitching a blue and using 1 to activate Heart of Ice, we can now pair Ice Quake with Command and Conquer, making it a 7 with the blue or a 9 with the red. Command and Conquer coming in for 9 with Frostbite on hit and Destroy Arsenal on hit with no defense reactions being able to be played is absolutely insane. Your opponent will a lot of times just block with 2 cards, destroy their arsenal, and take 3, whatever, take 1. Doesn't really matter. As soon as we see they have an arsenal, you never really want to play this if they don't have an arsenal. I'd much rather swing with the hammer for 4. The extra 2 damage isn't going to really do anything. You only want to play this when they do have the arsenal. Or if you need the big attack with the Ice Quake, you can do that as well. But if you're just playing this at 6 with no buffs on it, I would just save it for a later turn for when they do have an arsenal. Because that, like I talked about in the beginning, that arsenal war with this deck I found is very important. If your opponent is playing without an arsenal, you feel okay playing without an arsenal. But if they have an arsenal, you want an arsenal. You want to keep even with them or ahead of them at all times. You never want to let your opponent have an arsenal while you don't. So, and then the big boy of the deck, we got the Oak and Old. This card is insane. It instantly swings tempo in your favor. double fusing. It's very consistent in this deck, to be honest. There's been games where I've resolved all 3 Oakenolds. You will resolve 1 at minimum. Usually it's for game with a Goliath Gauntlet, so it'll be coming in for 11 Dominate. And if it hits, they discard 2 random. So it's literally your opponent's just ruining their next turn. There's nothing they can really do about it. More often than not, all their armor won't be able to block because they've been blocking in early game because they're tired of the Frost Fangs. So Oakenold is very, very threatening. Yeah, you really want to pitch stack this with Crown. Just general pitch stacking with it. Don't be afraid to block with 1, even 2. You really only need to resolve 1 a game. Anything else is just, you know, icing on the cake. Like, it's really, really good. A lot of times you will draw into it with a perfect hand, but do not let that bait you into saving it. You do not want to draw into it and then take all this damage for free just to play an Oakenold. It is not worth it. Do not do it. If it's presented to you in a way that, you know, you can get it off safely, go for it. But, you know, you really want to find that turn where you know it's coming up in your cycle and you're going to be able to play it for game. It's there, like if they are like at 15, 16 health and you play it, it's there to get them to that low life total to where everything you play is threatening. It's really all it's there for. Really good. I find it very consistent with the deck. The ratios, the 10 earth, perfectly fine, never any problems. Yeah, extremely good. So let's go over the sideboard. I'm still working on the sideboard. Honestly, the deck is pretty, like, it's extremely solid as is. I've, won a couple locals with it. It has a really good matchup, I feel, into a lot of the current decks right now. The Briars, the Lexis, the Katsus, the Boltons, anything that wants to combo. This combo here, Winter's Bite, Frostfang, every turn it just ruins them. It is very consistent. You will a lot of times play all the Winter's Bites, all the Ice Quakes. You pretty much play every card in the deck. Like I said, the time thing is pretty easy because your game plan is very, very straightforward. Not much thinking. The hardest thing is learning how to block efficiently, not letting your opponent get those on-hit effects, while still having a turn to either swing with Hammer or play, a Frostfang. So let's go over the sideboard. We'll start with the equipment. I have Tectonic Plating in here. I never really play it unless you know for a fact your opponent does not have any defense reactions. Because Heart of Ice, I feel in this game plan is just too important to give up. The Tectonic Plating, yeah, it blocks for 3, but it's just, I don't ever really feel it's needed. But like I said, if you know for a fact your opponent's not playing defense reactions, go ahead. We have the Null Rune Boots. Obviously for the Briars, the Chains, anything arcane, really good. Fits really well into our leg slot because our legs suck. So yeah, there's that. And then we have Time Skippers. I started out with this card, never really got it off. It's extremely clunky, but I have it in here just in case for like Prism or something. Swing to the Spectras. Yeah, Time Skippers, just it's never a main board. It's really only there for Prism. The Iron Rot legs are just way better. Then I have 3 Endless Winters. I took this card out of the deck. I was playing it at first, and I just found that the 4 resources in order to play it was just too much. It's just not consistent with what we want to do, being able to use 1 blue to play multiple things. I mean, it's a good card, but it forces you to pitch 2 cards, play this, and fuse it. It's not worth it. You can try it if you want. I mean, it's good against things like Dash and Katsu and things like that because of all their activated abilities, but you can mess around with it. I have it there just in case, I feel I want to play it that day, but yeah. And then I have one remembrance. I'm finding that I want to somehow include this more and more. Even though it's not necessary, I do get there with the deck, but against the grindier matchups like Dash, like Katsu, like pretty much almost everything. But against the extremely grindy matchups, you can side it in, take out whatever you'd like. And then I have 2 Forge for Wars. I haven't really tested the card. It's really good on paper. I mean, it's a 3-block in itself, and it can allow you to block with your equipment, with like Crown and Gauntlets and the Iron Rod without getting destroyed. The Heart of Ice will blade break, so don't do that. But Forge for War, it's there. I gotta test it out more, but there it is. And then the last 3, I have Polar Blast. I used to have this main board, but with our game plan of wanting to Crown of Seeds pretty much every turn, whether it to be to block damage or to fix our hand or to pitch stack, just to get something else in our arsenal, it just wasn't. It just interfered too much with our game plan. It was just a bait card. Like, you would arsenal it and then, feel like you have to play it to get that draw effect, but it just never worked out that way. I do have it there, and for Bravo, I will take out the Blizzards because Bravo doesn't really have to go against unless they're playing the Zealous Belting, which they are now. So, if they're not playing that, you can side out Blizzards for Polar Blast. It's a 2-block, so it's strictly better in that regard already because Blizzard does nothing against Bravo. So yeah, it's there, and you can threaten to dominate with it for late game. So yeah, there it is. That's the deck. I will have a link in the description to FabDB with the deck link if that's what you want. Feel free to ask any questions. Like I said, I'm still testing the deck, but I've gotten a fair amount to where I feel comfortable making this and putting this out there to where I feel this will get you some good results, especially with all these Briars running around. I really feel this deck really hurts them, makes them not being able to have turns. It's very consistent. Yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Reach out, I'll answer. And with that, thanks for watching. And I will be doing videos after this if you guys are interested in actual gameplay versus the matchups, kind of explaining my thought process, and so you can see the deck in action in case you're struggling with some of the lines of play. You can watch that. So look out for those. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.